Hey, welcome everybody to Talking Niagara this morning. It's Wednesday, October the 8th. 8th? Yeah, there we go. October the 8th. I couldn't even believe what I typed up, and I'd checked before, right? Um, and we've got a few good key questions this morning. Anything first?
Well, we forgot to note that yesterday was the 2-year anniversary of the the Hamas raid into Israel that
Yeah,
sparked
we
this
did.
whole
We did.
whole
Yeah.
war.
Yeah, we'll get on to this. Well, actually, I was hoping we can get it to the end. We can do the peace treaty. The Egypt. There's a trying to do. There's talks in Egypt at the moment.
Yes. Well, anyway, so
Yeah,
uh, let's hope
hoping
that
we
this
can
is all over
get
with.
there at the end. Yeah,
What I said before, what BB wants, BB gets. The Israeli lobby pretty well owns the U.S. Congress and Senate, so I don't really have a whole lot of faith in it, but I hope the killing stops.
yeah.
In any case,
We'll get on
we
to that.
can carry on with our regular stuff here, but I just thought I'd mention
All
that
right.
at the outset.
Yeah. Okay, US politicians keep swearing. It actually isn't US, it's everybody. It's a whole change in political structure. Um, the War Secretary Pete Hegseth let it be known the Trump administration was done with that shit when they were talking about so-called woke culture that had infiltrated the military, right? Well, and also Trump swore in the way he became the first president to drop the F bomb when he was saying we've been fighting so long and so hard they don't give they don't know what the F they've been doing. He told reporters, right,
Yes,
about one of the war situations.
yeah, really. So as far as Trump's concerned, yeah, well, we can be alarmed at uh, the U.S. swearing more. I mean, this is supposed to be a more Christian state. Remember, everybody's saying how Christian they are now. You know, Trump ran on the fact that he's a non-denominational Christian. Rubio is a devout Christian. Vance is a devout Christian. You had influencers like Charlie Kirk, devout Christian. Just about everybody stands up and speaks about anything now in like
I don't believe
exposes,
Trump's Christian at all.
expresses their Christianness.
I
So
don't
you would
believe
think
Trump
the
is
very
Christian.
opposite would have happened, wouldn't you? That
Yeah,
bad language would be subdued.
yeah. I don't believe Trump is a Christian at all.
No,
I
he
believe
claims to be
I
a
believe
non-denominational
claims to
Christian.
be a non-denominational Christian because that wins him votes. He's not been to church in his lifetime, I don't think.
Well,
And
no,
I
I
don't
saw the
believe,
church that he went to. Him and his family went to. I saw it in New York.
yeah, that was a press piece. That's nothing more.
No, I was there in New York at the time,
Yeah,
I don't know if the family just goes there anymore at all. But that's where old man Trump, staked out his church. I can't remember what it was, Presbyterian or whatever it
you mean
was.
you went past it in New York? Yeah,
Yeah, it was there. I looked at it,
and
and
I believe his appearance at church is nothing more than just you know a press presence, really. But anyway.
whatever.
Anyway, swearing,
But anyway,
swearing's
yeah,
always been
well,
seen as not permitted in political life, particularly not in Parliament, particularly not in Congress, particularly not as the president of the US. You don't swear, right? That's been the rule.
well, my, I, I am surprised that how little the Irish Parliament swears, or the Scottish Parliament swears. So, like, I'm thinking, what's going on here? They're swearing in the U.S. and Canada, but they're not swearing as much as they anymore in the Irish and Scottish Parliament. What's going on, Peter?
Well, yeah, but you see, we've had some bad, I remember some bad language. I couldn't tell you who. There was conservative politicians, and I think there was also a liberal politician that I saw a post of during our general election, where they both swore, and I was going to put it on the show, but there were more important stories at the time.
Okay.
Right. Because I'm just not, just not a person. If we've got leaders, the leaders should be leading by example,
Yes, they should. So but also look at the fact that the swear words that we use every day in our day-to-day life are not the swear words I remember as a kid. They don't have the same significance. When I swore when I was like 12 years old, that was a deadly sin. My father would know about it. My neighbors would know about it. There's that potty mouth
around the ear hole, right?
Yeah. I got in big trouble for using the word damn. I didn't know that it was a word. It was considered a swear word, but actually more like heretical kind of thing. You know what I mean? You're by using a word like that, you belittle Christianity or something. Yeah, and I forget how they put it, but I got in big trouble for using damn because I heard the adults say it. Oh, that damn thing. So I said it one time, and oh boy, did I ever get it. What's that word you're using? You can't wear that's biblical language, and you better be careful about blah 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 blah. And nowadays, like the F-bombs being dropped out of the sky all over the place. So you see the difference. If I used the F-bomb, it would be just like that in the you ever see that movie called The Christmas Story? Story where a little kid gets a BB gun and wants a BB gun for Christmas.
Yeah.
And he swore, he dropped the F-bomb and he got his mouth washed out with soap.
Yeah,
that's what happened. Right. Yeah. So there is a quite a clear difference of perspective when we think of swear words 50 years ago, 60 years ago, and we think of them now.
Yeah, and okay, so there's another thing going on here. Trump is calling Democrats insurrectionists. No proof to show that they are insurrectionists at all. Right. Further, Mike is saying swearing was used as a shock factor. Now, I don't think they think any of the words described. I don't think they can think of any other words to describe the USA today, and that's a problem.
Well, it was also a sign of crudity, right? Sometimes men in certain situations would swear. Soldiers might swear. Sailors, you always heard about how swears like a sailor. Well, in among those groups, it was okay, but outside of that, it was not accepted. It's thought to be crude, low, and vulgar.
Well, for example, my dad was a builder. They would say, "Get the bloody thing up," type thing, right?
Yeah.
And because especially if they were behind on a particular bit of building work, there'd be a lot of push to do that, and that would be when they'd start swearing, is when they were behind. But again, I think even trades workers wouldn't swear back in the day.
Yeah, there was even my father was very, 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 very careful. Even he was the boss of his machine shop, so he didn't use language like that. He didn't want to appear to be, low and vulgar, But if he had to, he let it rip,
Yeah.
But so the idea, like the curse words, like Mike said, like they no longer have a shock effect. when you go to Ireland or someplace like that, they use words that we don't use here. Women use them. Words that women will never use over here, they use over there. Women use over there. But it's common there. It's not thought to be. I wouldn't be formal, but it's rather informal speech rather than swearing speech.
Yeah.
So I think it's just perception.
Well, also there was somebody ran recently. They put a pledge to un-F our country.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't even know what they're talking about. Oh
yeah.
God. Everybody thinks like in the United States they live a very good life to drive around in their pickup trucks and blah and so on and so forth, and they think they're getting it. They're getting.
And there's another one. There's another one on here. It comes on both sides of the political spectrum. Senator Adam Schiff, back in March on Jimmy Kimmel Live, said Trump could go F himself.
Yeah, so it's coming from every party.
Yeah, every party. Yeah,
and I think it's just because swearing is becoming less swearing and more colloquial language.
Yeah, and I don't like the use of the F word, the F word at all.
Well, I'll tell you, if I was at work with a bunch of iron workers and millwrights and pipe fitters, I wouldn't be able to tell you if anyone swore, where they used the F-bomb or where they used any kind of other words or anything like that, because it would just be the language of the time.
Yeah, it was used 3 or 4 times in a sentence.
Yeah, where is that F and such, and we got to get this F job done, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't even notice they used the F word. It would be just, we really got to get this job done. We effing got to get this job done would be interchangeable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get that, but again, I've always found, have I sworn at work? Yeah. When things have gone wrong, right? I've certainly been known to say "F you, machine," right, when the computer's not working properly, right?
Well, what about political? So, okay, that's you. You're examining yourself. But what about the politicians? What do you think there? Do you think the politicians should be swearing?
No.
Do you think they should have a higher level of? I've never heard Carney speak, even using mild curses. I've never heard him so far.
And you see, you get somebody
also Polyev. I don't think I've heard him using even the F-bombs or things of that kind.
Yeah, as Mike said, that using swear words at work was called shop talk. It was part of the communication, part of the banter between the people at work. I think politicians, it's wrong for them to use F word, to use swear words at all, in all circumstances, because it's a leadership thing.
All right. We can look, you can start a petition, Peter, for the politicians, and we'll call it the effing petition. So let's get the effing petition going.
Yeah. I don't know. It just is, it belittles the politician, in my view.
Yeah, it does, in my view as well.
Yeah.
So it would depend on the situation too. Sometimes, if you take the politician out, like if you went fishing with a politician, or you played
that's different,
baseball or something.
That's different. If you're going fishing, you're kind of doing doing normal everyday stuff. You're not, it's not in a political scenario.
Okay. All right. Well.
All right.
All right, Peter. Start your effing petition, and we'll get we'll move on from this one.
Okay. Let's move on to Freedom Convoy giving conditional sentences.
Yeah, I feel that the government itself should carry more of the weight of what happened during the convoy. When the convoy began, they were walked into the city by indigenous groups. The police had some negotiated or thought to have negotiated understanding with the convoy. The police completely collapsed. The chief of police ran away from his job. He couldn't handle it. It was too much. So it got hard on him. So he just quit. He just started collecting his pension. I think a lot of the responsibility has to do with the pathetic way in which the Ottawa police handled it and how our own politicians handled it. We saw the enraged Justin Trudeau, and he talked about them being misogynists and racist and all that other stuff, how they overdid the one incident of a Confederate flag and how they misunderstood the Nazi flag. It wasn't a Nazi flag. It was, they were not representing Nazis. They were implying that the government were Nazis for the vaccine laws. So no matter what way you look at this, I think the government and the police have a huge responsibility, and they're dumping a lot of this on Tamara Leach and Barber. Now, they aren't completely innocent, of course. They did organize this thing, and there was five different factors. Okay.
My biggest concern in all of this has been wasn't hey, we come on Saturday, we do our demonstration, hey, even on Sunday, just to make it loud and clear, go home on Monday.
Well, even Doug Ford, he was loath to send the OPP in there. The Ottawa police just messed it up completely. So the next level of policing should have been the OPP. He didn't really want to stick his nose in there. He didn't want his cops getting roughing it up with the protesters. They eventually went in, but you could see what was happening here. Where do you draw the line between free expression and
absolutely good question. Yeah, brilliant question.
And we saw what the government did. It illegally shut off their bank accounts. It illegally it did all kinds of illegal stuff. It brought in the Emergencies Act, which the courts have said was way overdone. So we have blundering police departments, we have blundering politicians, we have blundering politicians who bring in an emergency act that doesn't matter. And of course, we have the blundering organizers who didn't realize how big this thing was going to get. But on the other hand, is it really their fault that it got that big? And that I believe that if it didn't stop when it did, somehow it would have boiled over, because there was just a frustration factor from all reports that each different faction of the convoy were getting more and more frustrated because each one of them had a demand and expected that to be addressed. And Barber and Leach were sitting in a situation where they could not control what was going on.
Well, I'm hoping
that's really all their fault. They weren't representative of everyone. They invited everyone there on the grounds of their own particular protest.
Yeah, I'm hoping the furor about this will die down now.
Now remember too that they did have a code of conduct. Everyone was supposed to abide by a code of conduct. They were issued this code of conduct. Everybody had the code of conduct. And the news reports were pathetic too, because they ascribed that demand that the Governor General take over the government and start a new election. Well, Tamara Leach and Barber had no idea what that was about. That was a separate faction in the demonstration, and yet the press put it out there as if that was the motivating, that was the legal, that was the document by which the protest was begun. So, the government got a slap on the wrist for bringing in the Emergencies Act when it didn't have to, and they got a lot of flack for messing with people's bank accounts and all that other stuff, really overdoing it. And yet I don't think they got a whole lot of problems out of this. And then dumping it on Tamara Leach and Barber, I really think that even this light sentence they got is too much.
And I would tend to agree.
These were not insurrectionists.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. But also, I'm hoping we can settle it here and we can kind of put this chapter of history behind us and move on.
Yeah, really. But I don't think, like, they wanted to put them away for 6 to 8 years.
I know.
That's the prosecution.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be that harsh against these people, you have to be that harsh against the government players, Justin Trudeau and whoever else was there that did what they did.
Yeah.
To instigate it and keep it going.
Yeah.
I would say, anyway, that is a chapter past, but I'm glad they got a light sentence. I think it should have even been lighter, to tell you the truth, or at least the government players should have seen more of this themselves. They should have been charged.
Yeah.
With some of the things they did.
Yeah. And I understand the feeling, but that never happens with government.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So moving on, Niagara Falls Dispatch is merging with St. Catharines. That's been decided, and now there's going to be a strike threatened.
I don't think it's going to go anywhere, to tell you the truth, because look, we've gone through this, and I talked about this on Paul's show on Monday when he reviewed what was going to happen. The agenda was going to happen on Tuesday, and this was a big issue. We zeroed in on it. Remember, this was proposed a while ago.
Oh yeah, I know.
And the fire department, the fire chief came in, and they had a big showing of people, and they made the case. If you lose a second here or a second there, it could cost a life. And yet, when you really look at it, the system that Niagara has could be old and outdated, and it could be the one that lags 1 or 2 seconds behind. So when Burgess came up with this, CEO Jason Burgess, he came up with this. He was pressed to find savings, $1 million worth of savings, and right away he came up with $225,000 savings by moving the dispatch to St. Catharines, which was a better outfit. Had the NG 911 are much closer to being started, and the responsibility for it would be shared among and the risk would be shared among many, whereas the Niagara one would be completely our own. So not only was it a savings initially, but it would be a savings later, because we would have to get our next gen NG 911 up and running here. We have to modernize ours, and that I think the lowest, it was $800,000 on its own just to bring that part of that up to snuff.
Yeah, and the question I asked at the time is, the Niagara Falls dispatch service isn't that old that they couldn't have put the next generation service in when they opened the new place.
No, they didn't have it, and it's expensive.
Yeah.
So that's part of the argument.
Yeah.
You utilize the St. Catharines ones that help connect with other servers and or other communities. You can share the risks. You can share the costs. It's next generation. It will take us longer to get the next generation up, and it will cost us a lot more. Right now, the fire department cost us 25% of our budget.
Yeah,
1/4 of our budget. So
and it's only a small saving, but and nobody loses their jobs.
Over 10 years, or 15 years, I think the savings are like $10 million or something like that.
Yeah.
It says so in the article. I can't remember, but I remember reading it.
The important factor is that nobody loses their jobs.
Yeah, that's another aspect of it. The original proposal was all the dispatchers would just move to St. Catharines, basically have a seat there. However, the Niagara Falls Fire Department is loath to give this up. They feel it's a bargaining position and they don't want to give up that bargaining position. There's an argument against that, saying that, that is not.
You mean the Firefighters Association don't want to give that up?
Yes, the Niagara Falls one, So, it's going to go.
NFPFFA. Right? The NFPFFA don't want to give it up.
Yeah, they don't. They feel that there's a legal action that they can use. And I think, what is the basis of that legal action? Anyway, the next generation 911 politicians decided to join the Garden City. So when Mike Strange sort of led the appeal for led the case for Niagara Falls firefighters, they were all his old buddies. Nobody wanted to go against the firefighters. They were sacrosanct. Nobody touches the fire department. But when the money came into play, when the dollars and cents began to be shown, no politician can now resist it. Even Mona Patel, who asked for $1 million to be saved or found, and when Burgess put that out there, she voted against it. Now she votes it for it, and sounds even in the article like she's taking credit for it.
Yeah. Well, that's actually her doing electioneering,
Yeah.
There was a similar comment. She put out a post about these new Lest We Forget crossings, particularly one at the entrance to the Fairview Cemetery on Stanley. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's electioneering, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't even think it's at the Fairview. Is it at the Fairview?
It's on Stanley, the entranceway to the cemetery on Stanley Avenue.
Oh, okay.
Right, there's one there. It's
right.
Not the only one. I'm just saying there's one there, right?
Okay.
There's also one in St. Catharines, opposite between the courthouse and the city hall.
Yeah. So there's going to be an arbitrator with this happening. The St. Catharines Dispatch Center is planning renovations at a cost of $1 million and aims to go live with its digital-based NG 911, next generation 911 system in mid-November, which would be way ahead of us if we tried to do it. And it would cost us more. But Zamato, during the past meetings, Zambito, who is the fire chief, said Niagara Falls is unique, and that while some people believe anybody can dispatch anybody, I tend to disagree. But he doesn't come up with any kind of arguments that says that a dispatch here was any faster. I mean, radio waves go the speed of light, don't they?
Exactly. And the thing is about that is that they will come out of a local transmitter anyway. And in fact, actually, the point being is there is some oddities in there, insofar as they often have more preparedness at the stations closest to the what do you call it, tourist centers.
Yeah, here's something very important too. After extensive review, it was determined that the total cost to implement 9G NG 911 was going to increase the annual cost of the fire dispatch from approximately $1 million per year to $1.5 million per year. So that's an extra $500,000 per year here. So, I don't even think Mike Strange can galvanize enough votes to get behind the firefighters here. Additional one-time capital cost requirements of $1.5 million was required, with the potential to reduce this capital cost from funding sources. So basically, it's right down. Niagara Falls contract with St. Catharines is 15 years. The total contract cost is $10.3 million. The first is $516,000 up front.
Yeah.
Now I'm just trying to say somewhere here it tells you what the cost savings would be to the community. But the problem, the selling points too, is that the risks of this thing are spread out over more than one community, and the cost is too. That saves us money, and if you do have a shared risk, you have more resources to deal with that risk. And that's pretty much all I've got to say about it, except that I can't tell you how much it's going to save us because I can't find it.
It was
to save it, yeah.
Yeah, it was significant. It was $250,000 at least. But again,
$250,000 initially, but over the space of 10 years, it would have been quite a bit more, because it was $500,000 more if we did our own.
And aside from anything else, double licensing and things like that costs municipalities money. So if you had one regional license rather than a license in each separate municipality, that's got to be cost saving there.
Yeah.
I don't know what the costs of the licenses are, but I'm sure they're too expensive.
Well, 15 years of it cost us $2.3 million, and our own dispatch cost us $1.5 million per year. Do the math.
Yeah, that's way too expensive. But if I were the CIO for Niagara Falls, that was one of my jobs. I would negotiate low cost contracts. And believe me, there's a lot of bargaining power, particularly as a public authority. You've got bargaining power. Yeah,
you can put a tariff on it. We can put a tariff. All right, St. Catharines. If you don't see it our way, we're going to tariff you.
Yeah. All right.
So basically speaking, okay, yeah, we move on from there. But that issue. It was a disappointment when City Council turned it down. They had some notion in their head that, they were very, very super careful, despite the fact that they wanted savings, and Burgess gave them savings, and they cowed. Now they looked at the argument a little bit more carefully and logically. And the argument that Burgess had made initially, if you read his argument or his reasoning there, it far outstripped the reasoning that opposed it. However, the reasoning that opposed it from Mike Strange and the other councilors was more of emotional kind of a thing, emotional and cultural kind of an argument that put side by side did not measure up to Burgess's more technical argument. Now the city council has been able to become more objective.
Yeah. All right. So Doug Ford has announced his intent to eliminate speed cameras, and that's already having an impact in Niagara's cameras, probably in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
All right. So Doug Ford's announcement that he intends to remove these automated speed cameras has already disrupted municipal planning and budgeting across the region. Niagara-on-the-Lake is bracing for $100,000 revenue shortfall tied directly to speed camera fines and earmarked for traffic safety upgrades like signage and pedestrian zones, right? And of course, the same would be true for every other municipality.
We talked about this. Paul and I discussed this because it was brought up by Lori Lococo, that she pretty much suggested that they put a stop to the implementation of these cameras in Niagara right now, pending what Doug Ford is going to do about it.
Yeah.
Now that whole issue then spurred on a sort of a discussion on what these are for. The very idea that they're a tax grab, I said they were more of a deterrent. So immediately speaking, when the cameras go up, they make a lot of money for the community. But if the cameras stay there, they don't make any more money. They don't make a whole lot more money because everybody knows that cameras are there. but they are a deterrent. Now, Paul had another idea that you could have some big flashing boards and all that, other calming measures. But I said that the ride program was the same sort of thing, the deterrent that kept drinking and driving down. He says it doesn't work because they didn't catch too many people drinking and driving. Well, I said, well,
I think that's because it is working.
It's a deterrent, the people know it's out there. And if you show up every once in a while, ride to remind everybody drinking and driving is no good, and we're going to get you if you do. I think basically there's a camera out front here of the school, on Thorlstone Road. You need it there. People really gun it down this road sometimes. When I come out of the parking lot here, I try to gauge how fast they're going. If they're going ordinary speed, I can get out, but so many people just put the pedal to the metal. So if you have a camera there, that calms people down, and that is a deterrent. So you're not going to make a whole lot of money off this. So the money grab argument goes away. If everybody knows that there's a camera there in front of a school or a park, then they just calm down. And
Randy West is basically saying it's a cash grab, akin to a swear jar. And he also says that if you say, I didn't do it, the fine's unenforceable. I disagree, because I think ultimately you will get the thing will go through the system, and you will end up being asked to pay the money by the province.
Well, I'll say this, that when they first go up, you can make the argument that it's a money grab because a bunch of people get caught. But if you leave the camera up and don't rotate it to other places where people don't know where it is, if you leave it there and everybody knows that camera is there, that then becomes a deterrent. And that deterrent works, obviously, because all these communities that have reported back have said that their speeds have gone way down, and they don't intend, a lot of them don't intend to make a whole lot of money off these by rotating the cameras around. They're going to put them in vulnerable places where there are kids in front of parks, and that they are a deterrent. Once everybody knows they're there, it's no longer a cash grab, is it?
Well, and that is the point, is that, for example, there used to be one around the corner from where, on a road that I'd regularly take, and what would happen is everybody would go fast. Then they know as you go over the rise to this particular hill, you'd slow down, right? So you see brake lights on the top of the hill because everybody's slowing down. So you'd go over this gentle hill, slow down, because just beyond the hill, there's actually one of these cameras, a speed camera. It's only the fool who's going past there at 100 miles an hour that gets caught. Every person who travels that route on a, whether they're local or not, who travels that route on a daily basis, applies the brakes, does the slowing down, etc., etc.
Well, in the article, it says that the communities that want to keep these going have sort of pitched it to Ford, saying that they're going to keep the cameras up, not rotate them, that if you get a ticket and you're not going to get another ticket until the first ticket arrives. So you won't get 3 or 4 if you're doing the same thing going down the same street over over a 3-week period or over how long it takes to get there.
Yeah, you shouldn't get $1,000 worth of tickets in one bundle.
Yeah. So they're saying a bunch of different things like that, which is worrying people. However, Ford says it's like a big cash grab, and he doesn't like it. But the argument against that is if you leave them there, they become a deterrent. Everybody knows they're there. Nobody speeds where the camera is. And you don't want them speeding around schools. You don't want them speeding around parks, that kind of thing. Where older people are, younger people are, anywhere there's a vulnerability, even at a nasty corner, maybe, that has a history of accidents or something like that. So once it's up, it's no longer much of a cash grab, is it? So that argument cannot be used. What it is, though, is a deterrent, just like the ride. We've seen when they put out a big ride the other little while ago. They, as Paul said, well, the ride doesn't work. They didn't catch too many people. Well, I
I
go
think
against
that's
that.
because it does
I'm saying
work.
that the ride does work. It's deterrent. Everybody knows that the ride's going to pop up every once in a while. You happen to be drinking, you're going to take your license away. Unfortunately, some people need a deterrent.
Can you be sentenced if any of any crime if the sole evidence is you in an unmanned photo? I think the answer to that is becoming yes.
I think Randy's got something there. I think there has been challenges to it.
And this is one of the reasons why in the US the cameras have taken so long to get active, because there have been so many legal challenges to them.
Well, on the 407, when people have sort of blanked out their license plates and things like that, so they can't be charged, when they finally catch up to them, it goes legal. Yeah. And the person who owns the car and the license plate that belongs to it is up till now being found guilty. They're supposed to be responsible for their car. That argument was brought up back then. I remember that, and I thought to myself how unfair that was. If you go on the 407, somebody borrows your car, goes on the 407, and doesn't pay, or switches the license plate on it, or blacks out the license plate, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, actually, in that scenario, that's the scenario where you need the bond car, don't you? Where it changes the license plate as you're going along.
Well, it was that guy that had a lever in his car. He had, I think, a big Impala or something like that, an old Chev. I think it was an 80s Chev, and he had a lever in his car. So when he went on the 407, he pulled the lever, which would flatten or cover his license plates, and he got away with that for months. But he finally got caught because they got pictures of him all over the place. They got pictures of his car. They got pictures of him. So then they just put that out there to the police. Look for this car. Yeah, and they finally got him.
Yeah, they finally get it. But again, then they have to turn to police officers. And I think what Randy is talking about is use a police officer. And this has always been my point. Automated machines shouldn't be used because you should use a police officer in order to enforce it.
Police officers are expensive and getting more and more expensive every day. You get a police officer with a police car, that's an enormous investment. That police car costs $100,000. So you got a police officer there getting paid.
That's a problem.
So what do? You get more police officers to check do
what's
traffic
wrong
stops?
With them using a $25,000 car? Like a Queen Vic or a Crown Vic or something like that. It's probably more a $40,000 car, but you know what I mean. Why should we use
a cop car? Crown Vic cop car costs a lot more than that, man. It costs a lot more. Like a Crown Vic is a high-end car, so yeah, it's going to be not like $40,000, particularly if it's equipped. But there's lots of police stations. I remember they used to have these small 6-cylinder little cars, and they would be the ones that would catch up to speeders. They didn't need the real big interceptors and all that, although some police stations had the interceptors. But aside from that, police are expensive. Cameras are not.
Yeah. Okay.
You got one camera up there as a deterrent, but if you got a police officer sitting there once a week, maybe, and there's a big police car and is running the air conditioning, he's eating his donut, everybody sees the cop, and the cop is a deterrent, aren't they? As soon as you see a cop and the cop is parked there, and that cop's going to be there every once in a while, that's a deterrent. Yeah. So that's a pretty expensive deterrent. Just put up a camera. That's my sort of challenge there, I think. I don't like cameras, to tell you the truth. I really don't. I don't like the big brother watching you thing going on. But when everybody else is watching you with your phone or any other kind of device, anywhere you go, which way or whatever, I think traffic calming cameras are the least of our problems.
Okay, So your opinion is based upon cost of enforcement instead of actual proof. No, speed cameras will take the pic of your face for positive identity, and in fact, actually, the speed cameras, well, actually, most speed cameras take the back picture.
Yeah, they usually take the license plate,
Yeah,
but I don't know how many other pictures they take.
Yeah, I'm not seeing of any other pictures they take other than the license plate. All right,
And if you have tinted glass, it wouldn't do you any good anyway. You know, if lots of cars get tinted glass, and the camera won't be able to determine who's the driver.
All right, next one quickly on the here. St. Catharines Kiwanis Field is getting a new scoreboard, and it's going to be costing. The councillors have agreed to this, and it's going to cost about between 80 and 120,000 to purchase this new video screen. I mean, in St. Catharines, of course, where.
All right. So anyway, this looks pretty good. Their old screen or their old scoreboard at the Kiwanis Field in St. Catharines. It's called Kiwanis Field because Kiwanis bought it, set it up, and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I get that.
Of course, now the city itself runs it, but it probably is still funded in some way by Kiwanis. Kiwanis does a lot of sports in St. Catharines.
Yeah.
And things like Aquatic Center. And then, so councilors agreed Monday to add $120,000 video screen to the purchase of a new $80,000 scoreboard. So the scoreboard is only $80,000, but the video screen is $120,000. And what they do hope to do is make some money off of it while advertising. So you have people coming there watching the kids play, or other teams play football or baseball or whatever they do there. And now they're going to have, like it says here, the total cost of the scoreboard, video display, new structure and foundation, electrical feed, freight and taxes is estimated to be $350,000. It's quite an investment. You know, so they're going to need a scoreboard. So the scoreboard would have cost them $80. The new structure that, $80,000. The new structure around it. You know, so what it's really saying, you get $80,000 for the scoreboard, $120,000 for the screen, and another $100,000 for the structure and the electrical feed.
And I suppose what will happen is somebody who comes up to the scoreboard will previously pay for the scoreboard to say, "Will you marry me, Kate?" And whilst pointing, whilst the guy's tapping on his girlfriend's shoulder and pointing up to the scoreboard.
Instant replays and kiss cams and things of that kind. Yeah. So a lot of people like that stuff. Like when I go to see lacrosse games in Buffalo or in Hamilton, they've got, or hockey games in Buffalo, but mostly lacrosse games I go, and they do all that mascot stuff. And they got the big screen up there where people kiss and dance and look dumb. I'm a purist. I came there to watch the athletes play. I don't want no damn, there's that word, damn mascot jumping around and throwing a t-shirt at me. Get stuffed, gets back to the game. But then I am very much in the minority. Everybody does like the mascots, the events, the big screens, the kiss cams. I think the big screens are useful when I want to watch the replay of what I just saw.
Yeah,
I can see, I can see them scoring on the floor. And then I can look up and see different angles of how it worked out.
Well, actually, the worst about that is actually when you think you see them scoring on the floor, but there's a post in the way of actually the ball going in the net.
That's usually very rare in the type of arenas you have nowadays. But
I'm just meaning if you're unsighted of something for whatever reason, somebody gets up in front of your face.
Yeah, well, yeah, that happens. But yeah, so really, if you look the other way for a moment or notice something and then you miss a goal or you miss a
Yeah.
good stop or a stop by a goalie, um, you know, that's why, one of the reasons why I like to go into the smaller venues like here up in St. Catharines or the Chiefs in in uh, in the Res there, the Iroquois Arena at the Res. They're much smaller arenas, and they get really good lacrosse because a lot of these guys are pros, going to be going pro anyway, or are already pros, and just playing out the summer, keeping their skills up. So you see excellent lacrosse games there. But when you go into the big venue, like in Buffalo, they fill that place up, man. Like the last the playoff games I saw there, they were full to the brim. There wasn't an extra seat anywhere.
Yeah.
And 19 plus thousand fans to watch a lacrosse game. And that's because the Bison or the Bandits are a superb lacrosse team. But I mean, that's what I see. They think this big camp's going to bring them some advertising dollars. So I think it will. The kind of replay that you're talking about, that'll kick in. That'll be interesting, particularly if you got Junior out there in the field, and he's playing football and he tackles somebody, and you want to watch Junior tackle that person from this side or that side, or Junior scores or something like that. It's a big deal for parents, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. All right. Okay. So moving on to the main feature of the day. US and regional mediators join talks in Egypt to end the Gaza war.
Yeah. At one point there where they were going to talk about just the Arab nations themselves without the U.S. at first negotiating, trying to come up with some sort of solution. This Hamas deal is very, very flawed.
Yeah.
It's a 20-point deal. It used to be a 21-point deal. And the 21 point was that that Israel could not annex the West Bank. They took that out. Why do you think they took that out? They took it out because Bibi wanted them to take it out.
Yeah.
Right? They have absolute idiots like Smotrich and Ben Gvir who are brutal. They are part of the government, and they just want to push the Palestinians right out of the area. The Greater Israel Project is happening. Trump doesn't really have much power here. He's pretty much being owned by Bibi Netanyahu, just like Putin owns him. He may be able to gain some power back from Putin, but he's not going to do much good against Netanyahu because he told Netanyahu quit bombing Gaza so we could start these negotiations. Bibi just lifted the middle finger up and just shouted him.
Here you go. If they place a speed camera outside Kiwanis Field, they can afford a new scoreboard. There you go. I think that's the answer to everything, Randy. Thank you. And I will agree with Paul in saying, in asking the question, is speeding even a problem? It might well be outside of a school zone, on a school zone. Some other places, I'm not so sure.
Well, I don't know. I live on Thorstone Road. Yeah, speeding's a problem. Speeding's a problem because you have different people. It's pretty hard to get out of here. If everybody sort of went the speed limit or close to the speed limit, it'd be easy to get in and out of my driveway, taking a left-hand turn or my parking lot here. But it isn't. You really have to look down and see. You have to gauge the speed of people coming. I have to gauge that speed because I've seen people quite a distance away, and I pull out, and next thing you know, they're right on top of me. And that's because they've put the foot down. So, yeah, speeding can be a problem here. And I would say, and my argument still is, yeah, Ford objects to the cash grab thing, but if you leave the camera in place, then it is a deterrent.
I would say basically, by the way, I saw somebody, I was behind somebody who turning into your building. They were slowing down way, way, way too early.
Okay, I'll put a poster up here in the condo. Do not slow down too early.
Right. Anyway, yeah. What's the problem? A bit of speeding causing accidents, or more people getting killed? If it's more people getting killed, I would say if you've got killing zones, we need cameras up there, and we need them permanent.
Look, speed kills. That's all there is to it. Speed kills. We have nightmarish accidents on the highways and things like that because speed kills. But another thing is the phones and the video displays that people have in their cars.
Those are a big problem.
Yes, and they're looking at that. But if they think for a moment that there's a camera up there, they may, that's another deterrent from them to use that too. In my view right now, well, I'll tell you, like I think I said this the other day, I was watching people wandering all over the road looking at their phones, and finally I couldn't take it anymore. And one guy, I could see him looking at his phone and he's wandering, and I rolled down my window and threw my can of beer at him. That'll show him.
And then he'll pick up the beer, drink it, and use his phone anyway.
Yeah, so that's debatable how effective these things. And of course, one study after another. You have to talk to traffic people and all that.
Driving that kills, not speed, by the way. Yeah, and I agree with Randy on that one. Yeah. Dangerous intersections, distracted driving, they are more of a problem than speeding. Speed only kills if there's an accident. You cannot go that fast on crowded roads like Thorstone, Lundy's Lane and McLeod.
They could sure pound it up to almost 80K sometimes down the street. I'm telling you, I live here. I see people moving down this street from St. John's to Thorstone. I mean, you'd be amazed how fast people think they want to go down there sometimes. So, and I disagree. Any traffic study or any accident study has always correlated speed with accidents. The faster people are going, the more likely the accident will happen. Over and above the speed limit, we find cars that can take faster speeds now, so the speed limits are increasing. But any kind of traffic, go on and on. What do you think your insurance? If you get caught with a couple of speeding tickets, why do you think your insurance is going to go way up? Because now you're a risk.
Yeah. Okay. I've never been caught for speeding in my life.
Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So back to Gaza, or Egypt, more correctly.
Yeah. So here you have two groups that really don't want to negotiate with one another. The Israelis have this idea of a greater Israel. They wanted for a very long time to expel the Gazans, the Palestinians from Gaza, out of Gaza. They wanted to expel the people from the West Bank out. Those are supposed to be Palestinian territories. They are oppressing the people in the West Bank and taking their land there. That's illegal according to the United Nations. It's even against the United States' policy there. But the United States will do nothing about it because they're owned by AIPAC, most of the politicians.
Yeah.
Well, 3/4 of the politicians depend on money from AIPAC for campaigning and don't want to offend AIPAC because they don't want them against them. It makes it pretty hard for anybody in the United States.
I'm going to ask the question that hasn't been asked. Why the hell is AIPAC able to do stuff in America when surely it should be seen as un-American?
Well, it is a domestic lobby run by Israeli and Christian Zionists, and it's a domestic lobby. So it's a domestic lobby that lobbies for a foreign country.
Yeah.
Now, if we went down there and had CAPAC or whatever Canada you know, America-Canada cooperation, we would be viewed as a foreign lobby. The Saudi Arabian lobby is a huge lobby, but it's viewed as a foreign lobby, and it has to go by rules of foreign lobby. This is a domestic, and it's run by Christian and Jewish organizations in the United States that are Zionist organizations, and they wield a lot of power and money, and they buy politicians, or they put the fear of God into politicians to make them comply with what they want. Almost every Republican and 3/4 of, I think, Democrats are beholden to AIPAC. So what Bibi wants, Bibi gets. I'm not joking about that. 10 million people in Israel are kind of pulling.
No, and it's ridiculous.
Pulling Trump around by the nose on a nose ring. He's not much he could do about it, because he himself has got a whole lot of money from the Adelson family, and of course his son-in-law Jared Kushner is an avid Zionist. Zionism is not a good thing. Judaism is just fine. I got nothing wrong with Judaism, but Zionism, it's a different thing altogether.
You realize, of course, you're on the dartboard of many Zionists.
What's that?
You're on the dartboard of many Zionists, aren't you?
Any reasonable person, remember, not all Jews are Zionists. Not all Israeli Jews are Zionists.
I know.
A lot of the more devout Orthodox Jews are completely anti-Zionist. It's kind of amusing to watch Jews walking down the street in Israel with Jews on the other side of the street arguing back and forth. One's anti-Zionist and one is Zionist. So they have a division within their own society.
Yeah, I know. And the whole point is, I'm just saying, just saying.
Look, in Gaza, the argument that how come the other Arab countries aren't taking these people out of Gaza? Well, those people went to Gaza because they got pushed off their land in what is now Israel. They got pushed off of that during the Nakba. So 70 to 80% of the people that were living in Gaza were already refugees.
Yeah.
In the West Bank, the same thing. A lot of those people have been farming that land for over 1,000 years, and the settlers come along and start burning their crops and knocking down their orchards, saying God told us that this was our land. And the irony of it is those people who are there would probably find themselves DNA connected more to the Palestinian Jews than anyone else, in oddly enough. But aside from that, they get no resistance, because even though it's American policy that the settler movement does not continue, they always look the other way. They always look the other way. They allow lots of funding to go to it. And even though it is American policy that the settler movement stops and does not eat up any more of the West Bank, they can't do that because of the power of the Israeli lobby.
Yeah. And it's a big problem there. But anyway, I think we've kind of come to the end of the show, and I'm not so sure that we're going to get anything out of these peace talks.
I doubt it. Remember, too, the real problem here is there's an ideology on both sides. You have the Hezbollah ideology on the Jewish side, and you have the sort of Islamic one on the Hamas side. Each one of them feels that huge amounts of sacrifice has to be made in order to get and keep the land. So Hamas is thinking like, we're expendable. We're going to be martyrs for something that comes later on. So it's going to be pretty hard to talk to them on practical terms. Meanwhile, the average Palestinian is victimized by that ideology. On the other side is the Hezbollah, the Zionists, who want who don't care how much sacrifice they themselves or others do in order to push the the Palestinians out of that land. Remember, the Greater Israel Project is huge, and and Likud Party is the first that said from the river to the sea, and they meant from the Jordan River to the sea was going to be a complete Jewish state. From the river to the sea, the Palestinians are saying the same thing, but this time they're saying we want part of it anyway. Yeah. So if you don't follow this, you can get really twisted around by whatever influencer you're watching. I happen to know about the history of the place. I happen to listen to Jewish or Israeli intellectuals or Israeli observers on this. They don't have to be, they're not particularly intellectuals, but observers of this, like Yelan Pepe, Miko Peled. These are all Jewish Israelis, and they have a big problem with the way the apartheid state is working. Remember, Israel is an ethno-religious state.
All right. Well, and I have to say goodbye.
All right. Without further ado, I bid you adieu.
All right. Have a great day.